Our political editor Andrew Clennell has ticked off his first electorate for Sky News' 2025 election door-knocking series. He's in Parramatta, won, of course, by first-time Labor MP Andrew Charlton in 2022. Andrew, what are you hearing from the voters?
Tom, hi. Well, a 3.9% margin for Andrew Charlton, but judging by the door knock today, things have turned for Andrew Charlton and for Labor. A few weeks ago, Andrew Charlton was getting a hard time on the doors from people talking about the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and the cost of living. Now, there are more people having a crack at Peter Dutton, and work from home is key to a lot of people here. Now, you can see from the doors just why Peter Dutton has made that embarrassing mea culpa that he has. OK, his policy was about the federal public service. OK, Chris Minns, the New South Wales Premier, is saying that his public servants should be coming in to the office now. But it just feels, for women in particular, there were so many people working at home, and it has become so much of a part of what they see as work conditions they want to protect. And that is why you have this reversal from Peter Dutton. More on that in a moment, but let's first hear from Jegan in Pendle Hill, comparing Peter Dutton to Donald Trump.
We don't want another Trump, so that's what we don't want Peter Dutton back.
Why do you liken Peter Dutton to Donald Trump?
His attitude, and then the way he marching towards to, every time, he's trying to echo, what Trump says. Say for him, especially with migrants, then he's more like Trump. Anthony Albanese can do better on Medicare, and then GPs and mortgage and so on. So that's if he can do something about it, so definitely,
So you heard about health there, and you heard a bit about migration as well. There were two views on migration. One lady did say to Andrew Charlton, you let too many people in too quickly. But health kept coming up, particularly when Andrew Charlton was thrusting the campaign leaflet onto people saying, we've set up a Medicare urgent care clinic in Wentworthville. You can see from this why Anthony Albanese is campaigning on this issue and thinks it can win it for him. We spoke to Anita, who spoke about the work from home and her wanting to defend that, and also spoke about how handy a Medicare urgent care clinic was for her. Like many people who spoke to us, they spoke about spending hours at night in emergency departments and not having their children seen till the morning.
That's going to help people like me, who get injured and then go access the care on the right time so that they can get the right, care. So that's a good thing about what I heard from Andrew. For children, and then they get sick often, they go to daycare, they go to school. But I just want to see a GP in person, and then I want a GP to have a look at my kid. That's the most thing, right? I don't want online help.
Do you work from home?
Yeah, I do. I go 3 days to office, and then the rest of the 2 days I work.
Did you hear Peter Dutton wanted to make public servants go into the office, but he's now reversed that policy? Have you heard anything about that?
So I'm a mum. I could take care of my kids. I've got 2 kids. So pick up, drop off, and whenever they are sick, it works much better when I'm working from home. Otherwise, it's too much of a stress on parent. If they allow us to work from home, that's really convenient.
All right, and here was Das, a Liberal voter, who said the Liberals aren't quite ready to be re-elected yet.
Yeah, look, I'm normally a Liberal voter, but last election I voted for Labor, and I thought the country needs a change from, need escape from Liberal for a certain period of time, and so I changed my vote for Labor. And I think it's still this time should be Labor. It's yet too early to get Liberal back on the office. So I think we should. A Labour government should get a benefit of doubt to serve them again for 1 or 4 years timeline.
And here's my chat with the Parramatta Labor MP Andrew Charlton post the door knocks. Andrew Charlton, thanks for door knocking with us today.
Good to be out with you.
That was interesting. Has there been a turn to Labor in the last couple of weeks, do you think? Because people were negative about Peter Dutton. They were positive when you mentioned the urgent care clinics to them. Do you think what Labor's doing and what you're doing here is working?
Well, look, I think there has been a change in the last few weeks. I've been door knocking right through, and I think since the election has been called, or around the time the election was called, people started to just change their frame a little bit, and instead of thinking of Peter Dutton as the opposition leader, they've started to think about him as the alternative Prime Minister. And in that role, they're not looking for somebody who's got complaints and raising concerns, they're looking for somebody who's got solutions. And I think that is where they are starting to find him wanting, and that's why when they're doing the comparison, they're leaning into Anthony Albanese, who does have those solutions.
And we did see a lot of people home, a lot of people working from home, which kind of speaks to why Peter Dutton's reversed his policy, even though it only applied to public servants. Is this something you've been hearing elsewhere on the doors?
Absolutely. Well, you know, today's a weekday, and door knocking, we found a lot of people home. And that flexibility is very important to those people. You know, you and I met mums and dads today. They're able to manage their lives, get their work done. They really value that. So to glibly say that you're going to end work from home, as Peter Dutton and some of his ministers have suggested, that really strikes at the heart of the way people run their lives these days. And I think we're seeing that in people's response to that comment.
And quite a lot of houses we did on quite a lot of streets, not a mention of the cost of living specifically. I mean, when you spoke about your IGA supermarket, they said, oh, IGA is a bit expensive, and you said, well, the milk down there is not too bad. But why aren't we hearing more about the cost of living? Why are people caring more about health on this knock, do you think?
Well, people care a lot about health. Medicare is absolutely central. People want that protected and they're worried about it. They want to be able to see a doctor. They want to be able to see a GP that is bulk billed.
Have they just got used to high prices?
No, look, I think, you know, even though they didn't use the words cost of living in our conversations, they were talking about the price of milk. They were talking about mortgages. They were talking about the price of healthcare and having to pay for it. So I think it's definitely there, but you know, our approach is to try and deal with those issues one by one. Now, cheaper medicines, cheaper childcare, all those things which actually go to the core of solving the problem, not just complaining about it.
Now, we heard two sides of the migration argument. So there were the people who were fearful of Peter Dutton and the way he'd treat migrants, and the Trump thing came into that we heard the word Trump. But we also heard from a lady who was concerned you'd let too many people in too quickly. So what do you say to that balance?
Well, I think people do want a balanced approach to migration. They want sustainable migration, and they want to make sure that the level of migration matches the level of infrastructure. And that's why we've been investing so much in infrastructure around Western Sydney, so that Western Sydney's growth doesn't come at the expense of what people want, which is to be able to get around, to not be stuck in traffic, to be able to see a doctor, to get into a school. That's what matters to people, and I think that's what we're focused on in terms of making sure that people's lives stay appropriate the way they want them to be and get the services that they need.
And finally, I guess it's a big moment for the campaign in your own seat tomorrow night, this People's Forum with Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton. What do you think could be tricky moments for your leader there?
Well, I think Anthony Albanese has been doing absolutely fantastic in the last couple of weeks, and you're seeing that reflected on the doors in our conversations today. You're seeing that reflected in some of the polls. So, you know, I hope that Anthony Albanese just continues to present the solutions that he has to the basic problems that people are facing. Healthcare, cost of living, infrastructure, housing. He's got really clear plans in all those areas, and I think the more people hear about them, the more they recognise that those are the solutions they're looking for.
Oh, finally, sorry, I just wanted to ask you about the gentleman who said of the first-term government thing, that basically he's a Liberal supporter, but he feels like Liberals need another term out of the wilderness. That was an interesting insight in terms of Australians usually voting a first-term government back, wasn't it?
I think he said he's a Liberal supporter, but he voted Labor last time and he's voting Labor this time.
Yeah, so and you were happy to hear that.
My kind of Liberal supporter.
Andrew Charlton, thanks for your time.
Thanks, mate.
So I think the Liberals have heard the work from home thing on the doors, no doubt about it. Hence the change. Big moment then in this seat tomorrow night with the People's Forum. Anthony Albanese versus Peter Dutton, live here on Sky 7:30, Tom.
Yeah, going to be a massive event, isn't it, given where things are at right now and where that debate is centred. Andrew Clennell, great to get those insights from the door knocking. We look forward to the next one.